Hi, I'm Lisa Singer. I am the Senior Director Event Programming at Media Post, and this is Brand Insider BTS, where I get to pull back the curtain on some of the most influential women marketers today. And with me is Alexis Parra, and she is the co-founder and Chief Visionary Officer at Nekter Juice Bar. Hey, Alexis.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, no, I'm glad to have you. And can't you, are you bringing any nectar juice for us?
I should have, if only we could like send it via, send the Jetsons days, just
Yeah.
send it right through the TV or
No kidding. Well, that's the one thing, like virtual, where it gives us the advantage that doesn't matter where we are. So where are you anyway?
I'm in San Clemente, California.
Okay, so I'm in New York, so we can do this quite easily, and logistically, this is not a big hassle. Yeah, we don't get the samples. I don't get the goods.
Yeah, and we would have so much more fun probably over a glass of wine in New York.
That would be true as well. So, but anyway, I'm glad we're able to do this. And, as I said, as the you with co-founder of Nectar. So this is a brand for your heart. This is from you. But I like to, when I'm doing my interviews, I always say I do my snooping, and I like to find out about what you've been saying on social media and elsewhere. And one of the things I found on your LinkedIn profile is you wrote, in terms of when you're talking about Nectar as something you were starting out, what you were looking to do, you said, we envisioned a place where people could ease into their days gently instead of being jolted into wakefulness by processed sugars and artificial flavors. I'm guilty of that, my coffee in the morning. So I,
Well,
I really
coffee
take,
doesn't count almost, right? It's sort of like after that, it's what you
okay,
do.
all right. We can go to it after we have our coffee. Well,
Yeah.
anyway, I want to ask you is I want to turn that on to you. So, is there a morning ritual that you do that sort of starts your day and gets your day off to a good start? And maybe if you don't do it, you're a little off for the rest of the day.
Absolutely. I like to get up a little before everybody else. I go to bed ridiculously early, between 8 and 9. So I wake up early, and I love that time when no one else is up. It's still sometimes dark out. It's just peaceful, and I'll have my tea, or sometimes if I'm trying to be good, I'll do like lemon water, the warm lemon water, and
Mhm.
just sipping that and just sitting in the quiet. And I don't know, it's just my time. It's not meditative or anything fancy. It's just sort of my time to, like, and when I have to rush off, to get somewhere before that, it does. It's like I think it's like waking up slowly, right? That would probably be the best way to describe it, instead of being forced to get on the go.
Well, you said so it's not meditation because I've heard that I speak with people and they say they get up to meditate or they write in their journals or exercise or whatever. So different
Yeah.
things like that. But when you're up, are you just kind of mindless? Do you have to stop your mind from thinking about I got to do this, this, and this today? Like, what's the process?
I mean, it depends on what I'm going through. Sometimes I'll read, sometimes I will try to meditate, sometimes I'll try to read something, kind of more important. Sometimes I'll get on Instagram, and we know what that looks like, the trap that is.
I've been
But it's,
told.
I think it's just not having to rush off, because it's like I work out some mornings at 7 a.m. So it's like before that, I get to just kind of sit and slowly wake up. Because on the days I wake up later, or I'm doing other things, I just feel more, you feel more stressed. So I guess it's just a de-stress, decompress type of time. So, yeah, if I start thinking about the day, that's not de-stressing.
Yeah, no, I agree. And that's hard sometimes that you do, even going to bed at night, in order to, like for me, I need noise. I tend to keep the TV on, and it's something I don't want to watch. I don't even look at it, but it's that noise that makes me not think about, okay, did I do this today? What do I have to do tomorrow? That kind of thing. So,
Yeah.
but no, I agree. I think it's nice just to have that kind of time.
Yeah.
So, well, and it's interesting in terms of I noticed that you have a bachelor's degree in child and adolescent development. You also worked in a number of schools starting out, and then until you then co-founded Nectar. So
Yeah.
talk about when you were graduating. Let's go back, not to what prompted that. We can get to there, but when you were back in school, when you were graduating college or just about to, what were you envisioning for yourself? And then how did it evolve to where you are now?
I mean, I have since I was a little kid, always wanted to be a teacher. Like most people don't know what they want to be. I always knew I wanted to be a teacher, which is so ironic that I end up not being eventually a teacher. But I always joke that like that degree in child development really helped me in the world because most people are more like children anyways, especially my husband. So it is definitely it was not what I envisioned at all. And I don't think anybody, I was not most likely to succeed. I was never that girl. So it's such an interesting shift for me. And it kind of happened I had said yes to something. So a friend of mine was doing a yoga teacher training. I only been doing yoga like 2 months. And I was kind of just maybe in this growth phase where I was saying yes to things. And so while doing yoga, we ended up getting juices. And I was like, I love how this feels when I drink a green juice. So that, and my children were loving smoothies, and my husband was doing acai bowls. So it kind of all just came together into, hey, let's take this and do it well. So it's made with real ingredients so other people can feel really good from it as well. And so that was sort of the impetus. And it was, you know, another way to share and I guess in a way teach people about health, teach people just a little bit more about what you put in your body and how it makes you feel better. So it's true to my core, but also very different.
Well, and also in terms of launching any new business, I mean, especially one where there's a lot of competition out there. I mean, it's not necessarily even direct smoothies. I mean, I just said I have my coffee. Not that those are two direct ones, but there's the places that have the frozen coffees and the this and the that. So there's a lot out there. So how are you, and again, I don't want to get into the marketing side of it, but that you as a teacher, how are you then, taking what those skills and developing or bringing them to this launch of a new company? Or are you maybe bringing in people who you can count on? Like, so what was the process there for you?
I mean, a little bit of everything, of course, right? I think the majority of our team has been with us since, or pretty early on. Most people, we're in business 14 years now. We've been most people between 10 and 7 years. So we've all kind of grown together, which is like the learning as you go. And I think there's so much of that, right? And then when we have brought on people that knew what they were doing, they weren't always as passionate, or they were expecting a whole team. We had a very small team. We wear a lot of hats. So there's a lot of different growth and things that are going on. And I think that's been kind of the magic with us is that everybody's kind of grown together. I think that's just, yeah. I don't know if that answered your question.
Did. I mean, in the
Okay.
sense but to take the mindset of an entrepreneur, of
Mhm.
someone who's ready to do a startup, again, it was something that you were believing in at the time, but there's a lot of people sit there and say, I mean, I don't know how many times I would have invented something, and it's
Right.
just like,
Yeah.
oh, I should do this. But then you don't follow through with it, or, you start to, and then all of a sudden you hear about licensing or this or that. So like, how did you get yourself into that mindset to really just jump in?
Um, I just it's weird to say, and this is where, the hippie juice bar owner comes out in me, but I just knew that it was something people would do, or want, and attach to. It was kind of this weird knowing. And then I think I have to give a lot of credit to my ex-husband who I started it with, and he was sort of the let's go entrepreneur, and I was more the creative. And I think that's a huge piece for anyone, to have that balance. It really is important.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. And I think having the right partnership, I think going at something alone, it can be one isolating, but two, I think, like like you said, you have where your strengths are, but then there are other strengths needed, which is the sign of any good leader. You bring in people with those strengths to handle things. So otherwise you'll be so overwhelmed. Um,
Yeah.
I'm curious in the sense, the restaurant industry. I mean, again, we talked about the competition, but the restaurant industry is also it can be male dominated. There's a lot of challenges there, especially for women. So younger women starting out. Now, I know you co-founded, so your experience is a little different, but at the same point, I'm sure you had to go up against certain things that maybe as a woman wasn't you had to sort of maneuver or challenge, or I don't know. You tell me, what were there instances like that, and how has it evolved? You said, what was it, 14 years ago? So
Yeah.
how has it evolved over the years?
Well, I mean, I think the biggest thing for me personally, especially not having the experience, right, coming in, it's that confidence, and I think you need the confidence to have the voice, but you have to have the voice, right? And so I think especially as a woman, sometimes we're afraid to have a voice. Oftentimes there's a louder voice in the room, but they may not always, you might have something more important to say or something to add to that. And so not having the confidence to speak up, not understanding your value. I think that was something that I really had to learn. And that was therapy and having other women. I think it's really, really important to have other women who do work similarly, right? Because that support system is invaluable. I mean, I know I can call any one of these girls at any time and just vent or ask for advice, and that is probably the most invaluable piece. So that's what I would say: have those women, find them, go to conferences, connect, whatever it is, join groups, or reach out to other, I mean, there was quite a few of other women opening businesses around the same time. And so I would reach out, just let's have a juice, right? Let's have a coffee.
Yep.
And just, we just were like, you just feel lighter afterwards. So I think that piece, but also we're there to lift each other up and validate that, yeah, go for it. Talk about this. But I did not have a voice in the beginning. And it took my personal growth to get to my professional growth. So I think that's a really strong piece that most people don't consider. You really have to kind of like, well, why do I feel so insecure? What is it that's
Yep.
causing me not to speak up? And I think, yeah, it's just, we have to not be afraid to see that in ourselves and figure out how to kind of adapt.
Yeah, and well, I'm curious, having been a teacher, and
Mhm.
so there you have to have a voice. Granted, they're to little people, so
It's different.
they're younger and they are, hopefully looking to you with more, respect and want to learn and that kind of thing. So obviously it's a different audience, but being able to sort of take charge in the classroom, did that help cross over in terms of taking charge in the boardroom or the kitchen or wherever you happen to be having these meetings?
Yeah, I mean, yes and no. I think, kids are always so different. Even when I would teach, I'd be like crazy and silly and animated, reading a book, and a parent would walk in and I'd like go to like my boring voice, just because I was too embarrassed to do it in front of kids. Are different. Kids are so loving and accepting. But again, it was me. It was my own mind that would be insecure about that. And the same thing would happen, in a conversation. I'd say something, I'd be like, was that stupid? Should I have not said that? And then you get all up here. So it was just learning to, I don't know, to own your voice, right? And just, it's okay to say what you need to say.
Yeah, you need to trust yourself. And
Mhm.
and I do think today, I speak with many women in the industry, in the restaurant industry, and it has come a long way. I mean, just even the last 14 years, but even, some women I've spoken with that have even been longer, and we're seeing more women in power. It's still lower, it's still not there. But because that, even at our conferences, we have a QSR conference, and at one point we had all women in the room pretty much, and these are all executives. So, it's just like it, and from people, I hadn't been a part of QSR like, 5 or 6 years ago, but my boss was just like, it's evolved. Like initially it was mostly men, and now we're seeing so many more women. So that must feel good. And that must, maybe when someone does come to you for advice, it gives them more opportunity to have these role models that they can emulate.
Absolutely. And I think the industry in general is so gracious. Even when we were first starting out, there were so many incredible women who took me under their wing and encouraged me. And it's important. I think that there's a big movement right now for not being competitive and being supportive. And I think that's such a big, that's behind the growth. I mean, we're all so much more confident if we're supporting each other and rooting each other on and helping each other through it. So.
Yep. No, I agree. So I'm curious, is there something about you that maybe when people first meet you, they get wrong? Like you might assume one thing, and then as they get to know you, they kind of like, huh, she's not that way, actually.
Well, I'm such a hippie on the inside, but I also love clothes and makeup. So I'm super incongruent with inside outside. Uh,
Uh-huh.
yeah, I mean, I get all, and I'm an introvert. I would prefer to be alone and, or have like really deep conversations. That's why I love this. We're hitting on like the deeper, more interesting things. Small talk is really hard for me. So
Yeah.
I think that always comes across when people are introverted that sometimes maybe they're just not very friendly. So I try to be friendly. And all my girlfriends that have known me forever would laugh so hard if I said I'm an introvert. They're like, "What? No."
Yeah, but it's just when you meet new people, you kind of,
Yeah,
I'm similar. I sort of take it all in. I'm not necessarily jumping in unless it's a situation where I have to. But for the most part, I like to kind of feel things out a little bit. So I get that.
yeah.
So, all right. So I want to bring up that last year you partnered with Too Faced Cosmetics, okay, and you created the perfect antioxidant packed smoothie for your morning routine. So that's what you described it as.
Okay,
That's a very unusual pairing. So, of course, there have been a lot of other unusual pairings with brands. So, I have a little test I want to ask. It's do with you, a little quiz, if you're
okay.
if you're game.
Sure,
Up for
sure.
it? Okay. So these are brand, I'm going to say the brand, and they paired with another brand
Ooh,
that
okay.
didn't quite match it. So, and I'll even give hints because I know this is, not everyone's, but just to see what you think.
Right now. Okay,
Oh, Clinique. They
okay.
had a pairing, and I can tell you what their product was, so that might help. And then I can even give a hint. Their product was they wanted to create a 58-piece crayon-themed makeup collection after fans noticed how much Clinique's chubby sticks resembled crayons.
So Crayola. That is amazing. Oh my gosh, I love that. That's so cute. I needed to see those. I
So they
love it.
right. So then all right, we have Arby's. So they had a limited edition called Meat, MEAT, Sweat Defense Kit. So in order to save people from the dreaded meat sweats. And I guess the kit sold out in 3 hours. It was back in 2022. So think of something that will help. It's for men and
Okay, so a
don't
deodorant?
bad, but they don't want to smell bad. Okay, and
Yeah.
think of they had a very popular campaign with a guy on a camel, or I'm like, or he was on a horse, or I think a horse maybe. And he's like, he became so well known. And okay, their saying is, or their tagline, smell like a man, man. Or you can
I mean,
picture
that's hilarious.
a sea captain. Everyone gave it to their father for birthdays.
Oh, like Old Spice.
You got
Yes. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Good. Thank you for the clue. I would have never got that one. That is so funny.
all right,
Wow.
all right. Last one,
Okay.
CoverGirl. They Okay, I don't want to say that. Okay, let me see. They had a makeup collection featuring eyeshadow, lipstick, nail polish, and other products that doesn't really, it goes along with the launch of a movie. And it's very, think, bright, um, out of this world kind of stuff.
Hmm.
Say the fourth
Star,
will be with you.
Star Wars. Yeah. Oh, that's so funny. So yeah, so I guess that would be kind of
Our
fun.
girl in Star Wars,
I
Star
could.
Wars, my Boston accent came out there. They did the release of they did it for the release of the Force Awakens movie.
Oh, that's cute. Oh, I like that
Mission.
one.
All right, so very good.
Couldn't have done it without you though.
Could have been where gave you like A, B, C, or D, like so think of
Yeah.
that. It was multiple choice. Okay, so well now we'll get back to a little bit more serious for you. Which I think is awesome. You founded is it the Sojourn? Is that my saying it?
Yeah. Like so Soul Journey was kind of the
Okay.
merging of two words. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, all right, I get that. So yeah, that's cool. Okay.
Yeah.
Sojourn Foundation, and that was in 2018.
Hmm.
Now, your mission statement is to aspire to connect people through soulful journeys. See, Sojourn, now I get it. That focuses on working with children in developing countries while sharing personal growth experiences and opportunities for adventure in unique global settings. Okay, so well, first of all, I love if on your website there's a photo of you with a little baby
Yeah.
and adore he or she, I'm not sure actually. The baby is adorable. It's in Costa Rica. It's an orphanage there. So just that must have been such an incredible experience for you. So I want you to sort of talk about that. What inspired you to start this organization? And then just what, I mean, I'm assuming this is part of your own soulful journey. This is what you're trying to bring to others. So sort of describe that.
Yeah. So in 2017, I got asked to go to Africa on a mission trip. And it was like living in Newport Beach in a very completely different lifestyle. And you go to Africa and you bring pencils to these schools, and the kids are like so grateful. You see the people everywhere in Africa, or we were in Tanzania, that they were the happiest people I've ever seen, and they have nothing. So it just like really makes you stop and think. We get so caught up in having the next best thing and all these things. And here's these happy people that are just, I guess it's contentment, that we just don't have. And so seeing that and understanding and interacting with just like these joyous, wonderful people, it truly changed the trajectory of my life. I came back, kind of reassessed, actually left my husband. It really did shift me. And I think I was, because I was in it for the wrong reasons, and so it was something that just, and all of us that had gone had come back with just a different perspective on life. I mean, it really does change you. And so with that such a gift, it's like when you find this incredible gift, you can't keep that to yourself. I really had the desire to share it. I was like, I want everybody to have the opportunity to go, but not everybody could go to Africa, and not everybody has the time off or the money, or whatever it may be. So I joined with a couple girlfriends, and we found orphanages and schools that we could donate and work with in Costa Rica and Belize. Some of the girls in Belize, they're 13 and pregnant, and it's happened from a family member. I mean, it's just gut-wrenching stories, and you see just the shame on their, and so how do we help? What can we do? And there's so much of this all over, but just to be able to have the conversation, to maybe a small little bit of inspiration you can give these kids, a little bit of grace where maybe they don't have it. And then to be able to, we fundraise before the trip. So the people who fundraise help raise the money, and then we go and we get to see firsthand, what you're bringing to these children, to this, putting TVs in schools so the kids can have other ways to learn. They can learn on, it's just small things that we take for granted, and the money goes so far in these places. But it's twofold. It's not just the money, it's the action of seeing it and seeing these children and being there to witness what it does, but more importantly, how happy they are with so little.
Yeah.
I think, I mean, I was just, and we've only been able to take one other group of women, and I think they would all say it changed them as well. It was just I mean, most of the girls were crying when we had to leave the orphanage on the last day, because the children are so light and beautiful and happy, and even in the crazy, tough, horrible situations, they're still just, open. I think that's the biggest thing, right? They're just open to being loved and having connections. And so we can learn so much from all of that.
Yeah, no, I just saying with kids anyway. I mean, when I've done volunteer, never to that extent where I was traveling to another country, but for, children's hospitals and, you're just volunteering, like making balloons or whatever it is, a part of
Yeah.
something. And these kids are running around like it's the best life ever. And they're going through so much. And you really see this strength in children, and as you said, contentment, and just they were just so happy to be out and having fun, or
Right.
just when you were talking about your kids, just having that pencil or whatever it may be. And I just think it's something I wish, like you said, it changed your life, and people should be able to feel that. Like, just, I don't know, like for me, I felt it then, but then you go back to your normal everyday, I'm complaining because, I'm in line waiting for whatever. Like it's just, it's hard to hold on to that, but it's something that too bad we all couldn't.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, we're human, right? Like this is the life we're in and it is hard, but being able to do regular work or even just, I mean, we are close to the border in Tijuana. So I actually met my current husband volunteering in an orphanage in Mexico. So we're able to go a little more regularly down there. But I think any type of giving, I think once we get in that motion of like, we have so much, is it okay just to give a small amount to these other places? I mean, I think even that, every time someone has a GoFundMe and you post, you get this warm, fuzzy feeling, right? So it's like just kind of, I want more of that and less of the want, so.
No, I agree. I think when you volunteer, people thank you or do things, just even a small reaching out to someone who's going through something.
Exactly.
They're so appreciative, but it almost makes you, I mean, it does make you feel better. Like I think, it's just it makes, people want to feel needed, I guess. And so it does make you feel that way. But
Yeah.
also it does make you feel good that you're actually helping in even a small way. Like I don't think there's too small of a way to do it.
Yeah.
And I think that stops a lot of people as well. Like, they say, oh, I can't go to Africa or I can't go wherever. So I'm not, you don't have to do that kind of commitment. There are little steps as well.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Well,
Even just putting your grocery cart away, right? It's like,
I know, or like just helping someone who's
all
has
those little
like
things.
something in the luggage, like when I'm flying all the time, and I'm like trying to get
Yes.
someone will stand up and just help it. I'm like, that's so nice, like it's just little things like that. They mean a lot. Well, I think it's wonderful what you're doing. So that's really, and it obviously shows about you. One, you start thinking about yoga and healthy drinks and then you start Nekter, and then you go and you have this life-changing experience, but instead of just saying, I have this life-changing experience, you do something more. So whether you think of yourself as an entrepreneurial person, you sort of said that was your ex-husband, but you actually are, or at least a go-to-it person, or however you want to describe it.
Yeah. Go get them. Right. I mean, I think at right around the time I started Nectar, I did kind of have a shift. Like, I need to start saying yes to things. It was a very mindful thing. Just open yourself up. And I have a 20-year-old son who's kind of trying to figure stuff out. And I'm like, just experience things. You never know where it's going to lead you, and I think in our initial response would be to be like, no, and I can't, even for Africa, my initial response was, no, I can't go. It's too last minute, it's kind of a late ad, but thank God I did, and it's, I really had to stop myself and say, no, you can do this. We're going to make this work, so I think that's a big piece of anybody's, doing outside the box, we can get so in our rut, I guess, so.
Yeah, no, I agree. I need to do more of that myself, that side the box kind of thing. So I'm curious, what's your guilty pleasure?
Homemade sourdough bread. I,
Seriously?
I just recently learned how to make it. I thought I was so intimidated for years, and I finally just made it. I was like, it's so easy. But yeah, hot, fresh sourdough bread with a little butter. Oh, delicious. Or avocado.
Yeah, but you have to do a lot of work to get to it.
Well, yeah, but it's not as much. It's funny. I always thought like, oh, it's so much work, but it's really not. It's really the hardest part for me is just planning. Like I have to go, okay, if I wanted it this time, I need to like kind of back into it, from a time perspective. But it's like you mix it up and then do a couple of these stretch and folds, and then it just sits and does its thing, and then you pop it in the oven, and that's it. It's like very simple, way easier. And I'm not a baker, trust me. I love to cook, but I am not a baker.
All right, well, that sounds good. Yeah, I don't see. Well, actually, I'm not really a big sourdough fan anyway. So,
Well, then that, yeah.
but no, but that does stop me sometimes in the sense of like, oh, it'd be great to have chocolate chip cookies, but you want homemade. Oh, I don't want to make them. Okay,
Yeah. Yeah.
then I won't get them anyway. So,
Yeah.
all right, one last question is.
Okay.
Has there been a time when maybe a failure that you had or something that didn't work out? And we can go back to even when you were teaching, before you were teaching, or in the course of starting, doing Nectar and what you're doing with it, whenever it is, but maybe a failure that kind of redirected you in a different direction that actually proved to be the right way to go.
Gosh, I think all of my all of my failures, right? Don't they all kind of redirect us in some way? I mean, I'm on my third marriage, so I definitely have my share of failures. But I think it's so hard to think about it like that. I think it's weird. I turned 50 this year and I've had a lot of like big introspective moments. And I think like all of those failures, as much as they're all redirections, I guess, right? But they take you and they make you who you are. So at 50, I've come to this understanding that self-love isn't massages, even though I love massages. It's like truly loving yourself. All these things I screwed up, like, and there are a lot of them. They made me who I am. So every little mess up, or being married, things that are the most embarrassing are the biggest lessons, right? Like, yeah, my didn't make the best choices, but it's made me who I am. And I think that like I wouldn't trade this moment for all of that. So, you know, kind of answering your question, I think they're all redirections, right? I mean, but the marriages, I think the biggest thing I could say about that is just it's so easy to blame another person, So the first time it was like, oh, it's all his fault, and I didn't do any work on me. And then after the second one, I was like, wow, kind of a similar thing happened. I didn't have a voice in the marriage. And that was because of me. It wasn't them necessarily. I mean, it was, but it wasn't, right? So it's like,
Are the common denominator. And
right.
you're the only one you can actually change.
Right, exactly. So I had to do that work to have the beautiful marriage I have today. So I think that if that's a redirection, it definitely it's a moment. It's hard to look at ourselves. It's hard to blame ourselves. It's much easier to blame the other people. But what can you change to not do it again? Hopefully this is it.
Because even when you think of people in your life, and they always say if someone brings you more angst or negativity than positive, because no one's going to be perfect in your life. No one is going, everyone has their flaws.
Yeah.
Yes. And so you decide, are they bringing me more happiness than negative? And then I work with that. So, but I can only work with me. I can't suddenly have them, okay, just don't do this, and then we're good. So it
Yeah.
has to, then if it's constantly that negative, then that's when it's time to just, you either choose to have them in your life or not to, but you can't try to change them. And
Absolutely.
that's what I mean by I don't want you, I'm not saying you should be the one changing your,
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm just saying if there's something that happens a lot and if it's something that you want to correct, you can't correct it with the other person in general. It's just
Right.
through yourself. So
Right. You only have control of what you do. But yes, by all means, if you're in a bad relationship, it is not about you. If you're being abused or any of those horrible things, please get away. But everybody else, when you leave, take a moment to really understand what part you play. What is it? What are you doing? And I think that's the hardest, to look in the mirror, to be like, well, I'm kind of, and then that's how you fix it. That's how you make a change. So hopefully I'll let you know how this one goes. So far, so good.
sounds like this, and especially you guys have shared the common wanting to volunteer with, with the children. And so that right there, I think when you share things like that, I think that goes a long way.
Yeah, absolutely.
So Alexis, thank you so much. It was really such a pleasure to meet and to get to know you this way.
Thank you. I'm so grateful you took the time to talk and share. Thank you.
Well, thank you. And thank you for watching. And of course, if you have anyone that you want me to pull back the curtain on, just let me know and I will do my best to get her. So, and thanks again, Alexis.
Thank you.